What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Here we are with another reaction video. And this one we have ancient India was 3,000 years ahead of science. Just allow yourself to take that in. 3,000 years ahead of science. That's crazy. Theory of evolution resemblances in Vedas. Before we can dive into this, if you guys happen to enjoy it, please don't forget to subscribe and give the video a thumbs up. Also, if you'd like to support the channel by becoming a member, there's a link in the description section where you can sign up and receive exclusive benefits. See what we got.
Did you ever realize that the avatars of Vishnu closely track the theory of evolution?
Really?
Yes.
Huh.
My grandfather pointed this out to me more than 40 years ago, and it still blows my mind. Okay. Let's just go through the 10 avatars one after the other.
Okay.
The first avatar, Matsya avatar, is a huge fish that lives in an ocean.
Correct.
We now know that life originated in the ocean and fish came before any land-based animals.
True.
I
The
didn't
second
know
avatar,
that. Now I
Kurma,
do.
is a turtle, an amphibian which is making its first tentative attempts at living on land, right?
Yeah.
Without giving up the comfort zone of water, right? So again, this is something that happened in evolution.
Correct.
Slowly, the water-based animals started coming out on land.
True.
Okay. The third avatar, Varaha, the boar, lives in the mud near the water, right? Hasn't yet.
Completely let go of the water.
Exactly, yeah. The fourth
Really?
avatar, Narsimha, is half beast, half man, indicating that first came animals and then slowly animals evolved into man. So that's why there is this half man, half beast thing.
The missing link.
The missing link, exactly.
Okay.
The fifth avatar, Vaman, the dwarf, is short and stunted, right? It's just like Australopithecus and all the.
Early forms of humanoids.
Correct, exactly, right? Sixth avatar, Parshuram, is a fully built, strong warrior who fights alone and is driven by base emotions, mostly anger and revenge, not a sophisticated person. So up till now, we saw the evolution
That's
from
crazy.
fish to amphibians to animals to humanoids. Right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Now we are going to see the evolution of social behaviors
Among
right?
humans.
Among humans, from an individualistic base emotions Parshuram to sophisticated humans living in society, right?
Right.
So the seventh avatar, Rama, is the guy who follows the rules of society, right? In letter and its spirit, right? Mostly, there was one moment of weakness during the Vali episode, but we can ignore that.
We'll do another episode on the Vali episode. I'm sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the point is, so this is, there is society, there are rules of society which need to be followed.
Yeah.
And we have reached
Agreed.
there. And plus we think of a whole bunch of things like duty and respect to parents and promises to be kept and so on.
Yeah. From complete anger and base emotion reactions, we have gone to thoughtfulness and living in a society with rules and whatnot. Okay.
So before we continue, let me ask this, right? Doesn't this seem like the pinnacle of evolution? What else is there? How can you get better than this?
That's a trick question. That's bait. I am not going to answer.
Yes.
How can you get better?
The next avatar.
He said, "Debate. I'm not going to answer. How can it get better? I'm gonna let you tell me because I'm not falling for this trick question. But I think it's absolutely incredible so far. Like as he's breaking evolution down, like they had this 3,000 years ago. That's crazy.
Krishna
Huh.
is the guy who realizes that if you follow rules, right, people are going to take advantage of you.
That's not getting better.
It is getting better. Krishna is the guy who does whatever is necessary to get the right things done, right?
Preach
He is
it.
the
I like
practical guy
that.
who knows
I
all
like
the
that.
rules and he knows when the rules are to be broken.
Come
right,
on now.
to get the right result. So
We need
Krishna,
that guy.
Okay, fine. That's the eighth avatar.
correct. Ram is called Maryada Purushottam, right? The one who follows the rules. But Krishna is called the Purna Purushottam, right?
Oh.
Ram is incomplete. Krishna is complete.
You're going to start a war out there. Not just in the comments. Everywhere.
Well, it's written in the Vedas. Okay.
Sure.
Clearly, Krishna comes after Ram.
All right. Like the next avatar. Fine.
Right?
We
Yeah.
get it.
The 10th avatar, Kalki, is clearly climate change avatar. Come to destroy humanity for our sins, for the way we are misusing the world. Right?
1 second.
Oh Lord,
You
oh
skipped
Lord, oh
avatar
Lord.
number 9.
That's a bit of a mess.
Okay.
People can't agree on what the ninth avatar is. Okay, depending on which region and which tradition you follow.
Huh.
Okay, first 8 avatar everybody is agreed on.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Ninth avatar, some people say it is Balram, some people say it is Buddha, some people say it is Vithoba. Right. So I think it's just, let's just forget about the ninth avatar.
Ninth
right?
avatar is us. It's
Yeah.
all of us.
Well,
Sub-
we can say ninth avatar is coalition politics, so we can just move on from there.
But does this mean that ancient Indians knew about the theory of evolution?
Absolutely not. Okay, I'm just
okay.
pointing out that the parallels are amazing. I don't know
Okay.
how that happened. It is a coincidence of some sort. Okay,
Okay.
but it is important to realize
Yeah.
that just because somebody imagined something
Yeah.
doesn't make it science, doesn't make it true. Okay.
Okay.
My mom
Agreed.
loves talking
Agreed.
about the Pushpak Viman and that, just because they described the Pushpak Viman flying in the air means that they knew how to make things fly in the air. No, anybody can dream up any amazing thing, right?
Yeah.
Unless you figure out how to build it and there is evidence of it being built,
Yeah.
it doesn't really exist, right? Just because the Brahmastra was described in our ancient wars doesn't mean we knew how to make nuclear weapons, right? We need to be able to distinguish between science fiction and science. Okay,
Yeah.
the things mentioned in the Vedas are science fiction. Okay, now don't get me wrong, there is a lot of brilliant stuff in the Vedas,
Example?
including brilliant science. Okay,
Okay.
so for example, our mathematicians and astronomers were the best in the world, right? Like Aryabhat, who calculated the diameter of the Earth 1,000 years before Columbus screwed it up, right?
Okay.
Brahmagupta, who
He
first
said 1,000 years before Columbus screwed it up. That's tough. But so he's saying that it's not that they knew about the theory of evolution. It's just incredible the parallels that they have with the theory of evolution and how kind of evolution played out in the Vedas. That is absolutely incredible. This is very interesting.
1,000 years before Columbus screwed it up, right?
Okay.
Brahmagupta, who first pointed out that things are attracted towards Earth no matter which side on Earth you are on.
Oh.
So he was talking about the force of gravity. The word Gurutva Akarshan, which is gravity in Indian languages, came from him 1,000 years before Newton, right? Madhav, who discovered infinite series for sine, cos, and arctan, and knew about
Really?
convergence of infinite series. This is a precursor, the key idea behind calculus, right?
Huh.
So there was a lot of good stuff, right?
Yeah.
But one problem with the old Indian traditions was very nicely articulated by Al-Biruni. Okay,
Okay.
Al-Biruni is the Persian scholar who visited India and in the year 1030, right, he said the following. He said, I can only compare their mathematical and astronomical literature, as far as I know it, to a mixture of pearl shells and sour dates, or of pearls and dung, or of costly crystals and common pebbles.
Okay.
Both kinds of things are equal in their eyes, since they cannot raise themselves to the methods of a strictly scientific deduction. Okay, I want you to think carefully about this critique, and you will realize this is right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
We have brilliant people with brilliant achievements, and then we have charlatans and fakes, right? And we put both sets of people on the same pedestal, and we do not have a system to distinguish between the two. That is where the scientific method differs from
This
what
is
we used to
basically
do.
this is basically me.
Dang, like we got these brilliant people who've done these brilliant things and made brilliant inventions or discovered brilliant things, and then we got these fakes and we can't separate them. We put them on the same pedestal, and he said there's nothing to differ them from each other, right? I believe that's what he was.
Vedic method differs
Yeah.
from
This
what
is
we used to
basically
do.
this is basically making me question the validity of something I learned as a child, Vedic maths.
Well, I mean, this is the problem with India, right? Because we don't have systems to distinguish like solid stuff from bogus stuff, right? We end up with Vedic maths, which is neither Vedic nor maths.
What do you mean neither Vedic nor maths? It is
So,
maths.
Vedic maths was created by Shankaracharya Bharati Krishna Tirtha
Okay.
in 1965.
1965.
Yes, this guy published a book with sutras which have these mathematical techniques
Yeah.
and claimed that these are from the Vedas, right?
Okay.
Vedic scholars were not able to find this in anything, right? And when they asked him to point out where exactly, which Ved, he said, oh, this is a Parishishta, a supplementary in an undiscovered version of Atharva Veda, which he had managed to find and of which there is no other copy in existence, only he knows about it, right?
Okay.
Not just that, scholars have searched throughout all the stuff we know about and they have not found anything remotely similar. Not forget the Vedas, right? Not even in the post-Vedic period. We had some great mathematicians later on,
Yeah.
right? They did great things, but not this. For example, this thing uses decimals. Our maths was all based on fractions, right? This thing mentions things to do with calculus, which didn't exist,
back
right?
then. Okay.
So this guy just made this
Dang.
up and called it.
That's crazy. That's crazy. But he make a good point in saying, right, it's a lot of fakes out here. It's a lot of people who just make stuff up and we just believe it. Because there's not a scientific method to differ and to figure out, right, if he's making it up or if this is really true. But that's crazy.
Vedic maths. Now the other problem is that it's not even maths because this is calculation. Just doing mental calculations fast. Okay.
It's arithmetic.
It is arithmetic. Maths is not about calculations. Maths is about proofs. Maths is about deduction. Maths is about logic, right? Fast calculations is such a small part of maths. And in fact, some of these techniques are decent techniques.
Okay.
Right? Most of them are not even very good. They're actually slower than just doing the normal method. Okay.
The argument I've heard
That's
is if
tough.
you practice them frequently enough, you'll get faster at them and it'll make your life easy and whatnot.
No, it will not make your life easier because you practice regular maths enough, you will get faster at that. It will be faster than
Facts.
this stuff. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So are you saying we should discard all of the knowledge of the Vedas and
No. Right? Let's be very clear
Okay.
about the fact that the Vedas have pearls and dung.
Okay.
What we need to do
Yeah.
is we need to figure out ways of being able to pick out the pearls from the dung, right? We have a tendency to say that if it was in the Veda, it must be something amazing, right? No, it contains all kinds of crap. Okay. Things to note. Much of the stuff about philosophy, spirituality, right? All of that is really good stuff.
Okay.
Okay, we had lots of philosophers, lots of them arguing with each other and their arguments getting strengthened and so on. So, lovely place to look for spirituality and things related to religion, including atheism. We have a very strong tradition of atheism in Hinduism, right?
Yes.
Really?
Problem is with the more scientific things, right? There we need to understand what is the way to separate the pearls from the dung, right?
Okay.
If something has been mentioned in the Veda, right? Is it true or not? Is it still applicable or not? Right? So I want to take two examples.
Okay.
One is Ayurveda. Okay. I mean, homeopathy is complete bullshit, but Ayurveda is not, right?
Yeah,
There is
okay.
actually a lot of useful stuff there. The problem with modern Ayurveda is that it's really difficult to know which part is really good and which part is bogus, right? That is one, because there aren't enough studies. It is just a whole bunch of claims in a 2,000-year-old book, which
Yeah.
might or might not be applicable.
I feel that in a sense of, I guess it's just hard to figure out a lot of things. I don't know. And then everything, you can't just buy everything that's written down and pass it as truth. But I feel like that's what happens a lot in this world, and that's why a lot of people say, it says it's hard to separate pearls from the dung, right? Because like people just everything inside of that book, people might tend to buy or tend to believe, and that's what happens. Everything, because a couple things are true, people tend to believe it's all true. But it's no like, hey, these things are true, and these things just don't make sense. So you just gotta kind of use logic. You gotta do your own research. You gotta figure it out. But a lot of people aren't going to go in and do research and any of that. They're just going to, hey, these I believe in these things, or I believe in this, so all of this must be true. Which is like, that's wild to think.
Second problem is that there are no standardized processes, no quality control, right? You go to a Ved, an Ayurvedic Ved, you have no idea whether that person is any good or a quack, right? Because where are the bodies? Accreditation, right?
Yeah, the accreditation bodies. Sorry.
Yeah. Similarly, with Vastu, okay? Vastu is this whole thing about these rules to follow for your house to be a really good house.
East to west facing.
I can completely imagine these being really useful rules when we all lived on the Gangetic plains, where water all came from this direction and went in that direction. It was all on the plains, right? The plumbing was not indoor plumbing,
Yeah.
right? And the sun rose in the east, set in the west, and there was no artificial lighting other
Yeah.
than, like, candles.
And diyas and earthen whatnots.
Correct. Now, how much of that is applicable today? A few things might be. The sun still rises in the east, right?
Yeah.
But indoor plumbing means that most of the stuff about water is no longer useful, right?
Makes sense.
Similarly, things about the construction methods are different. And what Vastu has done is that instead of modernizing, instead of figuring out which ones are applicable and which are not, they're just importing everything wholesale and saying, you have to follow all of this because 2000 years ago, this guy said it, right?
It basically comes down to blind adherence to something that has been handed down to you via tradition.
Exactly.
Agreed.
And that is not always
Agreed.
good.
Correct.
There are some cases which we have discussed previously where it does hold good in very specific situations. For example, we did an episode on old justice system versus new justice system, and we did a small comparison of sorts.
In general, see, traditional things have a lot of value, okay? But you have to realize that the world is not the same. The world is different, right? So you have to know which things to keep and which things to
throw out, discard.
Yeah.
I feel that.
Yeah, so do check out that episode on traditional justice systems versus the modern justice system. It has an interesting story at the beginning, which I'm sure you'll appreciate and enjoy. We'll line that episode up next for you. But he's right. We need to be absolutely aware of which parts of tradition we are following blindly.
Facts.
And which parts of tradition need
Agreed.
to be updated, keeping in mind the current situation of the world, the current changes that have happened since that tradition was put into practice. Lots to think about there. Anything to
I
add?
completely agree.
Speak.
Because there's so many times where it's like you said, traditions have been made so long ago, and they were made in that time period, and the world was a completely different place in that time period. To now in modern days, you can't keep using the same thing. There are some things you can still use. Like they said, find out what's still applicable from it. But don't just buy everything from that time period, right? Find out what's applicable and what doesn't make sense anymore. Maybe made sense back then, but doesn't make sense anymore in today's age. 100% agree with that. But that's all we have for this video. If you guys enjoyed that, make sure you don't forget to subscribe and hit the like. Check this one out next. See y'all in the next video.